Hi, everybody. Mitch Tanenbaum here. Thanks for joining me today. This is the security news update for March 19th, 2023. In the security and privacy alerts section, Google has found 18 vulnerabilities in Samsung's Exynos chips. These are the chips that are used to power the underlayer of phones and wearables and even cars. So it's the communication layer of the phone, not the user interface layer. There's just a boatload of devices which are affected. Samsung has released, I'm sorry, Samsung has not released its March Android update. They're not saying why. My speculation is that they're trying to figure out how bad the problem is and is this a cross silicon problem, which it might be. The challenge is going to be that once they do release it, then all the bad guys on the planet will know exactly how to do this. And at least some of the bugs are zero click bugs. And if the device is connected to the internet and the bad guy knows the phone number of the device, now if you think about cars, right, they have an area code in exchange in 10,000 numbers. If you know the phone number for one car, you know the phone number for 9,999 other cars. That's just the way it works. So if the device is passed into life and the manufacturer is not supporting it, then really the only option is going to be to replace it because there is no fix. And since these are zero-click bugs, there's nothing you can do to protect yourself. Um, on the other hand, in the reference area, the NSA has released a new document on zero trust and identity management. It's really geared towards the national security arena, but it applies to everybody. So great free tips from the NSA. They really are changing their spots because while they certainly will continue to attack people, that's kind of what they do for a living. They are releasing some really helpful documentation. In the Department of Nothing is a Problem Until It Bothers Me, the FBI is investigating a data breach that is affecting U.S. House members. And of course, they don't like being the victim. They're okay with other people being a victim, but not so much them. The House's chief administrative officer says that the House members were not targeted, but I'm guessing that once the bad guys figured out that they had the names and addresses of House members, staff members, and family members, they decided that was probably highly saleable, and I'm sure it is. Um, in the legal arena, the crypto mixer, which is designed to anonymize crypto transactions, called Chip Mixer, has shut down after laundering $3 billion worth of money. Um, they arrested a couple of people. They captured some servers, but I'm guessing if this guy actually did launder $3 billion, he could probably afford to go buy a few more servers. So I'm not sure that that's really going to stop him. But the cops don't have a choice. They can't ignore all this stuff. On the other hand, it's just really, really hard for them. Also, the U.S. government, the organization called CFIUS, which is the Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S., which is responsible for deciding what foreign companies are allowed to operate and which ones are national security risk. They've been sort of fighting with TikTok and its parent company ByteDance for 2 years now. Um, my guess is that nothing's really going to happen until CFIUS actually says you're banned. And then once that happens, then TikTok will get a little bit more serious. But I think they're getting pretty close to that time, so that could be a good thing. And a not so good thing, medical device maker Zoll, who sells wearable cardiac defibrillators, is notifying 1 million people that their data has been stolen. It's not good news is it's not the password to your defibrillator, but at least it tells the bad guys who's wearing one of these things and who's not, and that certainly could create mass panic for sure. Um, Next, in the uh, uh, crypto world, distributed finance player Euler Finance said that they lost $200 million to hackers. You think people would figure out that this stuff is software and the software is buggy, but apparently not so much. So the hacker dumped a bunch of the cash into a Tornado, which is another one of the crypto mixers, and is designed to make it hard to find. So how much, if any, of this they'll get back? Remember, none of this is insured, so they're not the people who lost $200 million are not going to get any of it back. And on the other hand, if you assume that most of these guys are crooks, maybe you don't care whether they get it back. Next, the eighth largest aerospace company, Safran, left data exposed for a year due to a misconfigured system. They're a vendor to Airbus, amongst other companies, and among the data leaked was a whole bunch of credentials. So none of that is terribly good news for Airbus and Safran's other customers. Uh, Also, a 19-year-old and 25-year-old broke into a police officer's online account. It's one of the challenges. The police officers are given access to very sensitive data because that's their job, and they don't really. But most of these guys are not technically savvy, so they've made this decision of really not putting any security controls in place, which I think is a mistake. I think the answer should be, if you want access to this data, get technically savvy. If you don't want to get technically savvy, you don't get access to the databases. In the meantime, the kids broke in and they told their friends that the portal had some effing potent tools, was their word, but they didn't say effing. They used the access to steal information to blackmail people. And they also made requests using this cop's email address of social media companies for even more information about people on an emergency access request. So none of this is good. Whether or not the cops will go off and reform, which is, I think, what they really need to do. This is far from the first time this has happened. That's we shall see. I'm not counting on that, but hopefully they might. It's certainly embarrassing to the police officers. Um, since Silicon Valley Bank exploded or imploded last week, what we're seeing is a large amount of spam, right? There's a lot of bank accounts that are changing. And whether you were a customer of Silicon Valley Bank, you were not a customer of Silicon Valley Bank, you were selling stuff or buying stuff from a customer of Silicon Valley Bank, there's a lot of banking credentials that are changing. And some of it is, pretty spammy. So I would say, if you get some kind of request, and some of our customers are saying they've already gotten some of them, treat them with a great deal of skepticism, because at least some percentage of these are totally fraudulent. And use an out-of-band mechanism. Use a known telephone number to reach out to the company to verify that they really do want this change. Then document that, because if it ever gets to the point where they say they didn't get the money, then you want to have your ducks in a row to make sure that you're not on the hook. And also remember, your cyber insurance will not pay if there is fraud and you didn't do that. So that's another reason. On the legal front, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, Section 702, which I think Congress very wisely decided to have it sunset every 5 years. It allows bulk data collection of foreign nationals, but unfortunately, the problem is that millions of Americans are getting swept up in this data collection. Neither the left nor the right, for interestingly enough, the same reason this time, are terribly happy about that, which is going to make 702 much more difficult to re-up at the end of the year. I think the spy guys are going to have to figure out that they're going to have some serious controls on that data that they haven't had. So we shall see. The alternative, which we've seen with some other provisions of FISA, is that it just doesn't get renewed, and that's probably not a great thing. OpenAI is kind of the poster child of the communicative. There's a word for it. I forget what the word is, but AI world where you can have conversations with the AI, has released their next newest version of software. They've, in the meantime, in the old version 3.5, they've hoovered up terabytes and terabytes worth of data. Some of it apparently confidential, because companies really aren't very smart and are feeding all kinds of stuff into it. And of course, the goal of AI is to spit it back out. So now the new version 4, which claims to have some pretty nifty new features, is going to be closed. The source is closed. The training data set is closed. The training process is closed. So, what OpenAI said is, gee, this was dumb to have called us open and open source. There's a lot of money to be made here, and we're not going to hand that off to our competitors. So, I mean, you can't necessarily blame them for that. But if people thought that this is going to be open and for the benefit of humanity, that's probably not so much going to happen. What's going to happen is it's going to be for the benefit of the shareholders of OpenAI. And lastly, in the security news bites, an interesting group of folks, Pornhub, OnlyFans, those are 2 porn sites, and Meta have joined in a new sextortion prevention platform. I think this is probably a good thing, and I'm glad they're doing it. The challenge is right now is how do you get this non-consensual porn down, and it's a real problem for the people who are the victims. So if this helps that problem, then I think that's great. Next, the Musketeer, Mr. Elon, has lost thousands of schematics to a hacker. This was a vendor of theirs that was breached. The Russian TV in Moscow and some other areas was hacked, and what was broadcast was a nuclear attack warning, including even those yellow diamond triangle things that you see in the nuclear places. It was so bad that the Russian government had to come on and say, "Gee, this was just this is a test," which of course it was not, but they would never admit that they got hacked. And the Department of Justice has charged a Chinese former billionaire, apparently, with massive crypto fraud. But curiously enough, the guy declared bankruptcy last month. So what happened to the millions and billions of dollars that he stole? Not clear. Probably shuffled off to his friends, never to be seen again. And finally, this could be a first. The courts have approved serving court papers by NFT, non-fungible tokens. And of course, the hacker who stole a lot of money did not bother to show up in court, NFT notwithstanding. And the result of that is a summary judgment in favor of the guy who got hacked. On the other hand, he's not going to get any of his money back, but he's got a piece of paper that says it's probably about as valuable as most NFTs, that he has a judgment. So that's what we have for today. If any of this gives you heart palpitations, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you. And otherwise, until next time, stay safe.
TurnKey Cybersecurity and Privacy Solutions offers the complete cybersecurity program for small to medium-sized businesses. They include everything needed to secure your business and meet compliance requirements. Visit our website at turnkeycybersecurityandprivacysolutions.com to learn more.